Welcome to Art Crush, artist Fee Marks and Paula Talesian, where we talk about being a professional artist, being a woman who's an artist, and the art world and more. Hi, Fee.
Hi, Paula, and hi, everyone.
We have hit a significant milestone in our statistics of listens and follows and all of that. And I just want to say, I know Fee will say the same thing. We appreciate your time, attention, and listening to our podcast, and of course, sharing it and giving us feedback. We're not just podcasting to assuage our own egos, we are podcasting to hopefully spark conversations and challenge our thinking and maybe make life a little bit easier for other artists out there.
So, thank you, and thank you to everybody who has shared and talked about and sent us personal messages because we appreciate every single one of them because it is about having a dialogue. We are not the great oracles. We just like to debate and think about. We are learning alongside our listeners, and we love it. So, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna do something a little bit different today because Fee came across a post on social media and we thought we'd have a little bit of fun with it and also maybe expand on some of the ideas in it. So it was called 10 Things the Art World Won't Tell You. So we're gonna go through and well, 10 things may feel like a lot, especially if you have ADHD like me, but we are gonna go through and we'll talk about some things more than others, and maybe we'll even skip over some if there's nothing to add. So the first one is irrational pricing breaks young artists before it builds careers.
100%. Now, you've heard us talk about pricing. It is one of the most common mistakes. And we talk about, is it possible to make a living as a professional artist? Well, it won't be if you're selling your art at severely underrated prices, like £30 for an original painting. I actually saw this week a gallery where they were doing an exhibition in inverted commas, of basically art for under £100. It was shocking. It made it look like a bring and buy sale. I think it is just saying to people, yes, we know the art world is unreasonable, but look, you can still buy art for this prices. It broke my heart. It broke my heart because not only that, the gallery will be taking a commission. So on top of that, the artists are coming out with 40% of whatever they've put their original art at. Well, of course, if you make £20 on a painting or £30 on a painting, that's not going to go very far in with the cost of living and your daily shop. So I would say not only for young artists, I would say for all artists. It's not just young artists or even people starting out. Underpricing is an epidemic, and we need to stamp that out as soon as possible and get the general public and everybody understanding what we do is valuable and it will help them. It's not just a little hobby and a little knick-knack and a little luxury. No, art is paramount as a way of expressing ideas and communication.
Yes. And if we even lean into the irrational part of it, I have worked with and seen artists who price based on how much they like a piece. So, if you walked into a store and they had, I don't know, just all T-shirts and some were blue and some were pink and some were white and whatever, and the person who's selling them likes the pink the best, so every shirt is £5, but the pink one is £25, it makes no sense to the buyer. It might make sense to the seller. I love pink the best, therefore it's the most expensive, but it makes no sense. So, being rational in your pricing, figuring out a formula, which we're not gonna talk about here anyway in detail, but figuring out a way to make your prices make sense to cover your costs, to make yourself a good living, to help your buyers understand that they need to value your art. And the average person can at least instinctively say, oh, this person actually prices in a way that Even if I don't understand their formula, my brain says it's logical, it makes sense. So that's the really important thing. And yes, irrational pricing can kill a career. So can raising your prices and then suddenly dropping them because the people who paid at the higher prices will be unhappy. So there's a lot. Pricing can kill your career very quickly.
I had this conversation with Susan Gardner this week about pricing, and both of us had sort of come to a very similar idea. This isn't anything new, but the to offer at roughly about three price points. So she described it as daddy bear, mummy bear, and baby bear. And then most people would hopefully go in for the mummy bear, but she said if you then add in a really big, expensive showpiece that could be like the great grandparent bear, so hopefully then people will go towards the father bear, which I thought was a really good analogy. But it's true. You're offering things at different price points. A smaller piece at this price, da, da, da. So you're giving people the option, and I think that's quite wise advice too.
Yes. Too many options are not good, but simplified is very good. So the next point in 10 things the art world won't tell you, visibility and quality are not the same thing. Your art is not bad just because it hasn't been seen yet. So this one's really interesting because a lot of artists come in, and this is not just random stuff. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, I've been an artist mentor for 8 years and a professional artist and all that, and Fee is a professional artist for a very long time as well. And so we've seen a lot of things in the art world. I've seen trends, and a lot of artists start out and they think all they need to do is one gallery show. All they need to do is go viral once or be seen once, and everything will be great. And if it doesn't happen, they immediately start to eat themselves alive, right? Because they assume that they aren't popular or aren't well known because they're not good enough. The reality is it's not visibility and quality, it's consistency in showing up. But we need to remember that we have to make people discover us, and we have to make them discover us again and again and again, and then remind them that we exist and our art is for sale. It's a consistency thing.
Yeah, and I would say that both of those, they're not at loggerheads, they're actually go hand in hand. Yes, your work does have to be of high quality. If it's scrappily done on poor materials, then it will matter. But visibility is down to you as well. And this is where a lot of people struggle and worry too much, overthink it, and end up sort of like self sabotaging because they're scared to be visible, but they're scared about themselves, not their artwork. You need to make sure that it is your artwork. Yes, people like to know the artists and know who you are and relate to you, but actually, when you are being visible, it's about your artwork. When people come up to you at a show or an exhibition and they say, "Oh, yes, I've seen your work," they don't say you. They say, "I've seen your work before. I've seen it on social media." They don't say, "I've seen you." So that is successful visibility because they are drawn to the artwork, not just me, but it is me that is promoting it. So it's a lot of things that are mixed together. I know that there are a lot of artists who think when they have that "I'm not good enough," it's because they think the quality is not good enough. And it actually, it's they don't think about the visibility bit
Yeah.
because they live in that fairy tale that we all thought that one day somebody is going to come knocking on your door and discover you without you having to set foot outside your front door.
Right? Right? That's exactly it. And just so people are aware, we all think that. When I was first starting out professionally, before I even did my successful run as a professional artist, I was just hoping for somebody to discover me and make my life better and everything else. And I knew better, but I didn't know better. So,
Yeah.
and you just have to go through that stage.
There is no Prince Charming or Princess Charming of the art world. It's
There
down
really
to
is.
you, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But that's half fun, right? And this is where a
Yeah,
lot
absolutely. Enjoy it, embrace it.
Yeah, because a disconnect happens when artists keep focusing on, I have the best fun in the studio, so that's where I'm going to focus. I'm already good at it. I enjoy it, makes me feel good. And when you're learning about marketing and being visible and everything else, it's a little bit more challenging. And as adults, we don't like to be challenged. We want to just do the stuff we're good at. So if you find the joy and figure out what that joy is or that good feeling or whatever in introducing people to your art and seeing their reactions and understanding that the marketing shapes the making because you get a chance to interact with people who have a different experience with your work, then equally the disparate parts of your art business will bring you different kinds of satisfaction, but both will be equally important. For me, the marketing shaped a lot of how I paint today because I got a chance to see people when they saw themselves in the portraits I painted of them in neon colors and, in the way that I paint with the loose strokes and everything else. Like they got a chance to see how I perceived them. And that shaped pushing my work farther because I still would be painting beige people if it wasn't for a whole bunch of factors, but one of the important factors was the feedback I got from the marketing and the
Exactly.
promotions.
As we've said before, your work should be continually evolving, but also your business is evolving. Nothing is ever standing still. If you just think, oh, yes, I sold all these pieces in 2021, so I'm going to carry on doing much the same, then it will peter out.
Yeah.
If so, all of these things, it's a bit like they're your team. Rather than having people as teams, all these aspects are part of your team to make your business successful.
Well said. So the next point is the art world is heavily shaped by taste makers.
Thought that was quite interesting. Unpicking that is huge. I think it has become acceptable for people to say, "Oh, I can see what that is, so I like that." And to just think that the best type of art is photorealism, which is not, that's a skill. But anyway, I'm not going to go down that. That's another podcast. But what we take from that as artists is we have to make our message people wanting to find out, and we are communicating. So it doesn't have to be something that they go, oh, I can see that that is my street. I really like it because that's where I live. Oh, look, and there's my house. We have to go a bit further than that. It's like, well, people will be drawn to this because of being part of that community and what being part of that community is. It's not just the bricks and mortar. It's not just because your house is on there. Once you start looking, it'll be because I've got happy memories there. We've had great parties. We've done this. I had my child there. I did, So it's not just, oh, that's my house and I'm so egocentric. So I like this painting. There will be more to it. But I mean, I think with tastemakers is that I don't think there's enough people talking about art to to actually that be a major problem and everybody's all buying the same type of art. We need more people going, look at this, look how exciting it is. I mean, it's great. So that's what I know there are people who go, oh, I hate social media, but social media is great in the way that we are learning more and it's expanding our horizons and it should be telling us more about the art world. But as I say, I don't think we're at that point. And tastes and trends, yeah, I think now it's a bit like fashion. People like what they like and they wear what they wear and they buy art that talks to them. I think it's finding what touches your soul and touches your mind and challenges you and lots of reasons. And the same with we don't all walk around in the same clothes. There are going to be people who say, I just like landscapes, full stop. But that's just their personal taste. And they haven't pushed their taste any further than that. So I would say trends in art, I'm not aware of them. So if you know better and tell me what the current trend in art is, please let me know because I'd be fascinated. And I certainly don't paint for trends.
No, and I think it's not great to paint for trends, but I just wanna address the art world is heavily shaped by tastemakers. From my perspective, So everything Fee said is absolutely true. And actually addresses the next point, which is trends move faster than real taste. I think it's a defeatist statement. If the art world is heavily shaped by tastemakers and you aren't selling, therefore it's not your fault.
Victim complex.
It's a victim complex. And I hear this a lot. Nobody's buying art right now. Well, I beg to differ. Maybe some people who were buying art before can't buy it right now or are holding on to their money right now, but that doesn't mean everybody is not buying art. And to say, okay, well, if other people are shaping the art world and my art doesn't fit in, I guess I don't have to blame myself for not doing enough to be discovered or to make people discover me or to market or whatever. So that's what I get from that statement. Fee is absolutely correct in what she said that it's too diverse and there's too much going on for there to be so-called tastemakers. And the art world is huge. But I think that's a hugely defeatist statement, and it removes responsibility from somebody's perceived failure. And also, aren't going to go into this in depth, but Fee and I have discussed in the past, how do you define your success? Is it financial? Is it visibility? Is it through achieving a skill? Is it through other things? If you don't define what success means to you, how on earth are you going to work towards it? So again, just saying, "Oh, you know what? Actually, um, what's going on in the world has prevented people from buying art. Therefore, my business is failing, but it's not my fault." No, no.
And people have been saying since art has been for sale, it's like anything, it's a bit like the weather. Oh, it's never been so hot or it's never been so cold. People have been saying that since time immemorial. It's the same with people saying, oh, people aren't buying art. Oh, art. There has never been a time in history where artists haven't been able to produce enough art and they've been selling hand over fist worldwide. I don't believe that has ever happened. Always, always artists have had to work doing all the things that we discuss in the podcast in order to sell their art. Yes, it's not just about the selling, but we all know how we feel when somebody buys our art. Can't beat it.
Yeah, exactly. So we are going to skip the trends move faster than real taste because we know trends do move fast in fashion, in housing, in art, in whatever. If you are chasing trends, you are chasing, you are not leading. And artists have the privilege of leading. So that's where we're going to leave that one. Some artists become important because enough people repeat it.
You see, I think that can be a pro and a con. And I think, again, talking about one of the members of the 51%, Susan Gardner, she was one of the first people who painted a Highland cow with bright coloured paint. And now Highland cows are exceedingly popular. You can buy prints in IKEA, you can buy them in the range and whatever stores are elsewhere, wherever you are in the world. And yes, they have become incredibly popular. But by the same token, that then cheapens what she does because people think, oh, it's another high coloured Highland cow.
Mhm.
So, it's great in one case. I mean, she would probably still say her biggest sellers are her Highland cows, but you have to work even harder then to make yours different and better than what's in the market already. So I think, yeah, you don't, I mean, we all know we get ideas, we bounce off each other as artists, but we don't copy. And if people are copying your artwork, they're not creating their own artwork. They're probably having a nice time doing it. But again, it's looking at those levels of where you're at. And, we all look at artwork and take ideas from it. I would say I spend a lot of my time looking at artworks and going, okay, yes, I don't have life models, so I have to look at photographs. I have to look at how other artists have portrayed people. That is fine. But if you're copying or if someone's copying you, that's what they are. They're copies. They're not the OG, the original person who created it.
Yeah. Which, I mean, Susan Gardner and I have talked about her Highland cows as well because 'cause they're absolutely freaking gorgeous, and she is the originator of that style. So if you love the colorful Highland cows, you need to go check out her website at susan-gardner.com. tastemakers.com. There's a plug there. There's our first advertisement in our podcast. But yeah, I do find that statement as well. Some artists become important because enough people repeat it. I find it defeatist and jealousy as well, right? People were mad about the banana taped to the wall because they felt like it wasn't art because it destroyed what true artists do. It looked like it had no skill and everything else. We're not going to debate that because, again, that's a whole other podcast. But there was a lot of jealousy and anger in that because of that piece. But it did spark conversations that some of them were interesting and some of them were very defeatist. But putting the idea that this important person probably isn't important and they overlooked you is sort of the messaging I'm getting from that statement as well. We need to look at other art and we need to remove our jealousy and our insecurities from when we do look at other art. So when Fee sends me, like, I get these amazing series of photos in WhatsApp from when she goes looking at galleries and other artists. She shares the books she reads with me and all that. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. This exploration and consumption of ideas and art and playing with what other people have done, but not copying, as she said, but being inspired and jumping off and not reinventing the wheel, I think is a really important part of that. And Fee is one of a handful of artists that have removed that resentment from I don't know that you've ever had it, but we don't have that discussion about, "Oh, they're only successful because they slept their way to the top," or whatever. We don't have that kind of discussion in our group or between us because it's not relevant. That's just disempowering yourself. Instead of making changes that make you visible or put your art in front of the right people, you just go, "Oh, well, they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth." So the next point was developing your own eye matters more than following consensus. And both Fee and I have a very unique style, but Fee, I've never seen your style of art ever anywhere. I've seen close, sort of, not close, but sort of in the neighborhood. There's an art movement in Ukraine that's been rediscovered that is somewhat similar to your work, but not really, because your
Mm.
focus was originally on the tapestries and fabrics and all that, along with telling the women's stories, and you've moved into a slightly different style, but nobody paints like you, ever.
I was just gonna say that. That is like, if you come and meet me at a show or whatever, that is what my bit of my mantra when people go, "Oh, wow." And I go, "Well, you won't see any other art like this anywhere else in the world. You've lucked out. You have got the privilege of seeing this art because there's nobody else who paints like me." And they all go, "No, that's true. I've never seen anything like it before." And to me, that's one of my success ticks. And we've talked about this. We've done whole podcasts on finding your own style and this, that, and the other. But again, it's something that has evolved. It's evolved. As soon as you make anything theoretical, you're putting a barrier up. Enjoy it. Think about what you like, what you want to do, play around, do all these things. And I think, yeah, 100%. That is, if you can say, "I've not seen anybody paint like me," or "I've not seen anyone who does ceramics like me," or "I've not seen," you are a success because you are an original.
Yeah. It does mean walking a more challenging path because people do like what they know. And so that's why we will forever always have certain styles of landscapes. It's why Impressionism and Post Impressionism is very popular with audiences because they understand it. But I think it is important that we have the visionary artists who aren't afraid of being different. Humans naturally gravitate towards being like the group because it's safer. Our evolution has led us to that. Our survival as a species meant that if we did what the group did, we were more likely to survive as a species. So we're wired for that. But to step away and do your own style of art, and it's saleable because Fee is successful, is really amazing. And it speaks a lot towards her why, her mission she's on with her art, what she's trying to say, and it speaks towards her strength of character in a lot of ways. Trying to find the right words for this because
Oh,
I
thank
know,
you.
I know. This ends up being like this. Oh my gosh, Fee is the best. She really is. She really is. But it's It's about not just feeling good about creating, but understanding what you're doing and how to express it in a way that works for you. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
I was just going to add to that, Paula. I was going to say, oh, a lot of there were two things that came into my head when you were talking about, not about me, when you were saying the bit before, about how one is about education, as you know, which is another of my little hobby horses, is that you said about people understanding impressionism and this, that, and the other. Nice, and that to me, that is an issue with the education system and people being educated about art and looking at art and all that. So that's another, as we say, we've talked about before, and is another podcast. So it's like, oh, it's acceptable. But all those artists that people now buy prints of and think of as like, oh, yes, all the Impressionism and Van Gogh and all of those, although those white males, Victorian males, in their day weren't the thing that everybody had on their wall. People were not buying them. This has become like 150, 200 years later. This is the acceptable face of art, is what people were doing 200 years ago. Well, if we did that with food and we did that with housing and everything like that, we'd all be going, that's ridiculous. But that is what has happened in the art world, is we go, this is acceptable. I understand this because I've looked at this before, because this is a famous painting from the mid 19th century. It's not something from a living artist today, because they are not being brought into everybody's everyday conversations. People are not meeting artists, not talking about art, not talking about who artists and what they are doing today. Even if you looked on the television, it's very, very limited, the programs that you can see about living artists. Very few.
I think with more education, the public would be better able to appreciate living artists and living art styles right now. I mentioned in a previous podcast episode about the woman on TikTok who's wildly popular, and she does a series called Modern Art for Haters, and she does another series about how to appreciate art even if you don't like it and things like that. She's a one-person art instructor in little 3-minute blips on how to understand what you're looking at. You don't have to like it, but here's what you're looking at. She's actually educating people on what we need and what the general public needs to understand and appreciate and move a little bit faster than, "Oh, finally, Van Gogh is the right kind of artist. His work is on shoes and bags and whatever now." Like, the general public moves really, really slowly, and it's because art is removed from our education system, art appreciation, connection to creativity. Another one of my friends teaches art to kindergarten, grade 1 up through grade 4 and all that. And she's telling me that kids don't know how to be creative now because 'cause they're on iPads and everything all the time. And so her job first has to give them permission to be creative and to understand how to use the tools, the scissors and the markers and everything else so that they can be creative. And it's changed a lot in the last few years. My point is that the education system and the environment that we are living in right now is systematically and intentionally removing our connection to our heritage as creatives. And we know it's our heritage because we know from archaeological digs that before our current species was around, we know that the Neanderthals were making art. We know that the other groups of proto-humans or human cousins, or whatever you want to call them, were making art. We have 500,000-year-old archaeological digs with art making. And this is not accidental art making, it's intentional mark making in hard surfaces. So, to separate us from our heritage is damaging, but it's being done. So, when people have issues with being unique and different with their style, part of that job is to educate our audience and reconnect them with understanding. It's part of our job as artists to show up and explain things and help people catch up because they just don't have the tools. You can't understand what you don't know, what has never been shown to you or even on your periphery.
Just following up that, It's about the power of storytelling and how important storytelling is in all cultures. It's really, really important, and that's where the arts derive from. So we have to keep that in our head. We are telling stories. So be it you read books, it's writers, musicians, performers, actors, playwrights, all of the people in the arts world are telling stories because it is a human need to have stories told. Comedians, anyone, they're telling stories. And that is not acknowledged in our education systems about how important that is as a skill and as something that we need day to day. It's not a luxury.
Yeah, it's essential. I actually came across a bit of information last night, and it is about one of the oldest stories ever told and how important it is for humans to be telling stories. And so we know that the indigenous population in Australia has been in Australia for at least 40,000 years. We know this, we have evidence for it. And they have a story about the seven sisters in the sky, about the Pleiades constellation. But there's only been 6 visible stars to the human eye, to the naked eye, right? Because that story is so old that when it was first told, and I don't know the specifics of the story, I know the stuff around the story, but when that story was first told, the 7th star was actually visible. This story has been told for so long that the constellation has actually changed over time. It's a 40,000-year-old
Wow.
story. So you can look it up and look up the Australian Aboriginal story about the seven sisters. And the seventh star is there. We know it's there because astronomers have seen it or calculated or whatever. It's tucked behind one of the other ones. It's no longer visible. So that's evidence that storytelling is a huge, huge part of who we are. So when you're making art, you are telling stories. Art is just the vehicle for those stories, but they shape who we are. And it is I'm trying to find the right word for this, but it is a grievous harm that respect for visual arts, but the arts in general, is systematically being destroyed because it takes away our connection to who we are as a species. And I'm not gonna go into why I think that is or anything else because that is not even this podcast, it's a whole other podcast. But it is grievous harm to us as a species for us to do that when we know that storytelling is part of our DNA and it connects us to who we are and it connects us to our planet and everything else. So let's move on to the next one. Um, the best artists usually keep working quietly. Yeah. Yeah.
You can't see my face. I see my face. I again don't understand that. Working quietly. What does that mean? I don't understand. Does it mean that they're just beavering away in the background? They nobody knows who they are. What does it actually mean? I mean that we could spend a whole podcast unpicking that. Yes, we are all quiet when we are off, and again, this is being quiet when you're creating is not the most healthy way. Creating art, writing stories, historically and culturally, was done by groups of people. They weren't one person beavering away. That is quite a new phenomena that only one person makes one picture and one person writes one book. In the past and across the world, it has been done by groups of people talking, one person doing a bit, somebody else doing another bit. We all know about artist studios in the Renaissance, Yes, it will be the school of, and we all know, but the person in charge got the name, but there were loads of people who were actually involved in creating that painting. It wasn't just one person. So I can't see how they could have been quiet. So I'm sorry, I don't understand that one.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I agree. It's garbage. It is go be weird in the corner while the rest of us look normal and are normal and whatever.
Ignore you then. We
Yeah.
don't want to be ignored. We want to be heard. And it's
Yeah.
important that we're heard.
Yeah. But then if we're heard, aren't we challenging the discourse and what's acceptable and everything else, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
So quite rightly.
Yeah, go be quiet in the corner and stop being weird out loud. Like that's just bullshit. So let's throw that one right out the
Right, that was thrown out the window straight away.
Oh yeah, I wish we did video podcasts just for that one moment with the look on Fee's face. 'Cause that was
One day we will.
yeah, that was absolutely priceless. Okay, so the last one is taste is built through curiosity, not status. Trusting your instinct is so important.
Yeah, okay. I would say yes about the curiosity. We want every child to grow up being curious and asking questions. And if we stop asking questions and stop being curious, then we stop learning. You just exist, yeah. Instinct, I think, yes, it's really important to trust your instinct, but also sometimes you need to push through and you need to push through your fears and your anxieties. So, because sometimes instinctively you feel like, I don't want to do that. It's just not me. I don't feel comfortable doing that. But that's not necessarily a good thing to listen to. So, when you trust your instincts, you need to be curious about that instinct as you need to question it. The bit about status I don't understand rather than status. I'm not sure how is status in the art world. The status of using oils, maybe, that people think that this is fine art. Could be talking about that, I suppose. So you say, right, I want to make the most money, so I'm going to use oils and I'm going to use this and I'm going to use that because uh, they have the highest status in the art world. If it's to do with that, I think no, ignore that.
Yeah. I'm not sure because I think maybe status also maybe refers to designer things as well. Like somehow conflating that sort of labeling with art. Taste is built through curiosity. So you hate to
Yeah.
have good taste if you're wearing all designer things. One of the things I've struggled with myself, like last autumn, I had to go get an outfit together. We've talked about this last in the last season of Art Crush. I had to go get in our outfit together, dress and boots or shoes and a purse and all of that. And poor Fee across the pond had to put up with about 3 hours of me photographing endless purses, because for me, wearing somebody
Bit.
sounds wearing somebody's name on a bag, I just think it's stupid. I have a really hard time with it. And so I would photograph purses and Fee would be and I'd be like, "I don't want this guy," whatever his name was, Steve something or other, "on my bag. I don't wanna see Coach on my bag," or whatever, and Fee's like, "But these are good quality. Look at this, look at that. Avoid this, avoid that." I'm deliberately not naming the avoid so that we don't get sued. Please don't sue us. But I have an obliviousness to status and saying that I have taste through status because I don't value those things.
Yeah, and I would say I'm not a big one for labels. It was
Yeah.
about it was about you pay for what you get, and it was about the quality. So it was like, yes, you can buy that purse for 3 cents or whatever it was, but it's rubbish and it looks rubbish. But that wasn't about the label so much.
No.
So yeah, but I see what you're saying. Yeah, the status of I bought this from a gallery in Paris. Yeah,
Yeah. That
okay.
exactly, exactly, and not that I meant to imply that Fee is like that either, but, she definitely has more knowledge in me because your fashion is an art form as well, and it's not
Essentially, I say it's a big part of who I am and my art. So fashion has always been an interest of mine, whereas for Paula, it's like her nemesis.
it's just too much extra thought is required. So, again, we probably should have a video podcast because 'cause I'm wearing my painting clothing. I intend to paint once I finish my work for the day. So, I'm wearing my painty jeans and my painty t-shirt and, ready to go. And yet I still have a business meeting to go to. They're just gonna have to put up with me looking like I'm getting ready to paint because yeah,
Whereas I wreck everything,
yeah,
paint, because I wear what I wear to go out to paint in.
there you go. But yeah, so I think it's interesting that trusting ourselves to understand that we can build our own taste other than what's dictated to us, and we can build our own taste through our likes and dislikes in our art and in our art making our art purchases and our art making, rather than seeing what's popular and what we're told is good, I think is maybe the point of that.
Right. Understood.
Yeah. But it's definitely interesting things. That's 10 things the art world won't tell you. I think a lot of those were a little bit stupid, but it was nice to talk.
And I think we've discussed more than 10 with all our podcasts.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Sometimes these lists are a little bit like, I don't know, maybe it's 10 things the AI thinks the art world won't tell you.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sure it is. They have been a good starting point for us to discuss, even if we didn't understand all of them.
Yeah, and I think the
So,
list is not consistent. Some of them feel like they're talking to the artist, and some feel like they're talking to the art buyer. So it's not even a great list. I'm gonna label that as probably AI slop. But we had a fun podcast episode talking about that. So I think it's important when we're on social media to have a level of media literacy. And we're not going to talk about that at depth here, but I am going to leave everybody with this instruction. I'd like you to go on to whatever search engine floats your boat and look up House Hippo. And that's all I'm gonna leave you with. If you're Canadian, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're not Canadian, well, you're gonna wanna take a second look because it's an important topic about media literacy that we need to address again. I think that the House Hippo, though it is at least 20, if not 30 years old, has aged beautifully. So Google or search House Hippo. And I think that's it for this episode of Art Crush, unless there's anything else you wanna add, Fee?
no, I think we're done.
We are done.
Just for now.
Yes. For now, there will be more episodes of Art Crush coming up. New episodes release every Saturday UK time. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart Podcasts, Amazon, Audible, and wherever your favorite podcast episodes are found. You can also reach out to me, Fee, and the 51%. The links will be in the show notes, but you can find Fee at feemarks-art.co.uk. You can find myself at paulatulesian.com, and you can find the 51% at the51%.com. Check out the information about our upcoming show. Get to know the artists in the groups. That includes myself and Fee, as well as Susan Gardner and Yella Prancic, who are artists, our international group, coming together in Derby in October of 2026 for our inaugural show. Don't forget to like and subscribe our podcast, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next episode.